Tata Chemicals is a very fine company, has always been a very fine company. But we went through a phase at the turn of the 90s and the early 2000s when we felt at some stage that we might have to look for a person with a broader vision and who brings in an outside perspective. It was a Sunday afternoon and I was sitting in my study at home. I have a small study. And suddenly in front of me, I'm not sure why, the face of Prasad Menon flashed.
Well, we were just wondering what sort of a person we would be getting, as our MD, since he was coming from outside and not from the group. So we were all quite apprehensive. But when we met him the very first day, we found that he was a lovely person, a very warm and a friendly person. So I really thought that he will be definitely a great person and a great boss to work for.
Prasad shares a very unique thing with Tata Chemicals which nobody can take away. He shares a birth date. So when we say happy birthday in Tata Chemicals, we actually are wishing him happy birthday too. And I think it's very unique when the person who leads the organization and his little child, which he has transformed, share the same date of birth.
Prasad is a dream client and he is an outstanding turnaround leader. I worked with him on the Manthan program at Tata Chemicals, where in a short period of time he turned around that company.
The way he can rally the organization and choose the right interventions that will take this organization forward is phenomenal.
And I was so struck by Prasad's approach in Tata Chemicals in the early years. I personally went with him to Meetapur and to Babrala and introduced him to the team, that it actually formed a part of a chapter in my first book, in the case of the bonsai manager.
He had this ability to knock people's heads together when necessary. He also had the ability to sit one-to-one with somebody and reason out a problem. And that's why he sort of really was able to relate to people very closely.
If you go to his office sometimes, by the time you settle down, the discussion is over and you don't know what to do. And that is the time when Prasad will connect with people at a personal level and he establishes a rapport.
The way he balances between the logic and the values and the humanness that needs to be brought to a decision, I think is really what is distinctive about his leadership.
He is a very people-centric person. At the end of the day, I think he was a great believer. This was an organization which had a great backbone. It may have fallen into bad years, but it had a great backbone. He was a believer this organization could bounce back. He actually led from the front and made people believe in themselves.
He's completely open about what he wants to achieve, why he's trying to achieve that, and that is the way he gets all of us to have the same vibes as he has to a proposal that he's making to us.
Prasad sets very aspirational targets for his people. He shows them the way. He listens very well as a client, and then he drives relentlessly for implementation.
When Mr. Menon's approaches on the turnaround in Tata Chemicals started giving us results, we defended our businesses, we consolidated, and then it was time to grow. And that was a time when Mr. Menon's abilities to integrate different cultures helped the organization become a global entity.
I think it came very naturally to Prasad to be himself in the midst of diverse cultures and diverse people.
One of his great heroes in life was Nelson Mandela. And I remember in his first opening speech to the Kenyans when they came for the first integration conference, he actually quoted from Mandela, and he really won over the hearts of those people.
Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure.
One of the most fundamental thing that he focused was on respecting human dignity. I think he was extremely conscious about this right from the beginning, and he was extremely respectful about it, and he was also fiercely protective about it in the process of integration.
It's actually a treat to watch him work with these challenges. And I think it's again about being able to get people to feel excited about something that they can jointly build, something that they can share in the success of.
Even today when I go to Magadi, the only person, the chief, the local chief, which is the community around, the chief who is part of who leads the community there, the only person who he inquires about when I meet him is Prasad Menon. He says, "How is my friend Prasad doing?" And this is not just about the way he's inquired about when he was at Magadi, when he was at Brunamont, all the old employees, everybody inquires about him. And you do that kind of inquiry and you just want to know about that person only when there's a deep sense of affection.
Leaders find it very difficult to be humble and yet be looked up to. And I think Prasad, without a plan or an intention, cracked that.
He's always been people's man because I think once I remember we were having lunch in our canteen, and he stood in the queue for a long time. In fact, as AMD, I think he could have had the food on the table, but then he stood for a long time in the queue and then got his lunch.
मेनन साहब तो बहुत फ्रेंडली थे सबका साथ, ऐसा लगता था कि बॉस नहीं है, एक फ्रेंड जैसा ही काम करता था ऑफिस में.
I'd been formally introduced to Mr. Menon when he started at Tata, and the next morning or maybe 2-3 days after that, he bumps into me at Bombay House and he says, "Hi, Cash," and I was quite taken aback. In fact, so dumbstruck was I that my reply was a garbled "Good morning, sir," and a hi put together, and I felt very foolish after that. I actually went home and told my family that, you know what, my managing director said, "Hi, Cash," and I couldn't even reply to him.
मेनन साहब जब आते हैं तो हमें उनसे बात करने में कोई झिझक नहीं महसूस होती थी, क्योंकि वो सबसे फ्रेंडली बर्ताव करते हैं.
He's got the ability to be at a very high level and yet come down to your level. At the end of it all, you feel happy just being next to him, just having a chat with him makes you feel happy.
I remember when he came in the organization, he didn't do any big bang approach, but he slowly and steadily infused his philosophy about what he wanted out of the organization. And then people, I think, never realized they have changed.
I think he was always comfortable with people in terms of knowing people, encouraging them, motivating them.
He's a great mingler. He mingles with people as he walks down the hallway towards my room. He meets a number of people. He's got this brilliant smile on his face, and he will stop and chat briefly with each one of them as he goes by.
He has got the uncanny ability of transforming the lives of the people.
Prasad was the kind of guy who was able to tell home truths. And you can pull it off when you look credible.
What I really enjoyed about Prasad was an extreme level of transparency and openness, and a willingness to debate issues and then come to a common conclusion.
I think just to add to what Paddy is saying, that the quality of atmosphere that has been all along in the discussions that we've had as an Apex team has been simply marvelous.
Prasad has always been aware, more than aware, of the importance of Mundra project as a confidence-building project that would help the company to catapult itself on its growth.
And the kind of freedom that he gives to people, it seems in the end that all of us have collectively co-created the future of the organization.
मेनन साहब जब भी हमारे यहाँ आते हैं तब हमारे वर्कर में घुल मिल जाते हैं और अच्छा काम करने को प्रोत्साहित करते हैं और सेफ्टी में काम करने को प्रोत्साहित करते हैं.
He's made the culture in Tata Power very open. He's introduced a lot of emphasis on care of the people.
There's a focus on safety as a value,
a very, very strong focus, Prasad, that I identify with. Also on customers and finally on sustainability.
10 years ago, 9 years ago, when nobody talked about water, nobody talked about carbon, nobody talked about environment, Prasad was the one person who was talking to us and pushing us on biofuels, on water chemicals, on ideas relating to sustainability.
He believes that without sustainability, no business, and in particular a power company, has a long-term future.
After Mr. Menon came to Tata Power, the hydro focus was revived once again, and we started construction of hydro plants in Nepal and Bhutan and some eastern part of the country.
I think Prasad believes that sustainability is something which you live right from the time you get up in the morning till you go to bed at night.
You know, he set up this Sustainability Advisory Council in Tata Power, and he's invited thought leaders on climate change, on environment, and on community. And their role is to challenge us and look at our strategy on these areas and actually push us to become more sustainable.
I remember Prasad calling me up, asking me if I'd want to be part of the board, and I didn't have a second's hesitation in joining, simply because I had confidence in him and what he was hoping to achieve.
I found that his interests were really genuinely for sustainability rather than looking for the interests of commercial short-term gains.
I was talking to him about this group in Karnataka that wants to work on zero carbon villages, and he said, let's go and see them. And I said, Prasad, it's not easy. It's in the back of Beyond. You got to catch an overnight train, spend the day. Do you have all that? He said, sure, we can do that. It's important, so let's go and do that. And that's it. And we went there, spent the whole day, and clearly from the questions that he was asking and the kind of information he was trying to gather and put together, no doubt about the fact that he was completely out of conviction that this is such an important thing for Tata Power to do, for the corporate world to do. So it's something which is very basic to his being.
Mr. Menon prefers places which are very close to nature. So he will prefer Varvan Dam and spend time at Varvan Bungalow.
He loves working all the time.
He likes mavericks.
He loves to see people succeed.
He loves biryani, he loves birthdays, cutting cakes.
Watching cricket and talking about cricket.
Rahul Dravid scoring a century against Australia and India winning by a big margin.
He's absolutely fanatic about the game.
Mysore Park.
Oh, he loves his vodka with Duke's lemonade.
डोसा और इडली पसंद करते थे, लेकिन लक्ष्मी मैडम ऑफिस में आके बोलते कि उनको ज़्यादा इडली और डोसा मत दो करो, इसलिए हम लोग ज़्यादा नहीं देते. कभी भी चना ज़्यादा ये प्रिपेयर करते हो तो चना दे देते उसको.
When you mention the name Prasad Menon, one thing which clearly happens is that with him, the feeling is one of joy.
I compare him with Aslan, the lion from the Chronicles of Narnia. But of course, he's not as good looking as a lion.
If he's not in the office just doesn't have life without him.
He's a super duper boss.
Caring and kind. Great mentor.
Easily approachable.
Honesty of purpose.
Very uncomplicated and genuine friend.
Transparent. I think he's genuinely exceptional.
Great human being.
For me, it's Karma Yogi.
Here's a real gentleman.
But if you write him a 3-page email, his response will be barely 6 words. And you'll get this little blunt response. It comes straight from the heart, straight from the shoulder, but he means every word of it.
When I had my first performance appraisal with Prasad back in 2008, he made one statement which I will never forget. He said, Alok, I don't think you yet know what you are capable of. And that is quintessential Prasad Menon.
Well, you might think that I am Prasad's consultant, but actually Prasad's my counselor and for no fees.
मेनन साहब वही मुझे भी प्रोत्साहित किया कि एजुकेशन करो, आगे बढ़ो, कुछ बनना चाहो, तो वही हिसाब से मैं भी आगे बढ़ा हूँ.
Mr. Menon is constantly pushing people out of their comfort zones and actually making them believe that they can do things that they never thought that they were capable of doing.
Once on a Friday, he asked me to make a presentation, so I made it in about a couple of hours, gave it to him, and he says, okay, on Monday you have to make it in front of Mr. Tata. I said, are you serious? I mean, how can I make it in front of Mr. Tata? And he says, no, why? Can't you do it? I said, yeah, I'll do it. I got my chance. I got to make the presentation in front of him. Came back and couldn't speak for like 15 minutes just because, I made a presentation in front of Mr. Tata. And the best part was when he comes back into the office, he tells my colleagues, you know what, he made a presentation to Mr. Tata and he rocked it. And that's really been the best moment of having worked with him.
Prasad never wanted to show the world he's perfect. And I think if we can emulate some of these qualities, we'd create great leaders. All of us have a few decent qualities, not too many, but we do have some. And Prasad certainly exemplified that to me.
Prasad has set the base. He's put the blocks together. Now we need to start moving and take this forward.
Remembering everything he's taught us about sustainable growth and the emphasis he's always laid on safety.
I think we should have a complete faith in what he has envisioned and just do it.
All of us have now become change agents. So we are just going to succeed.
Prasad, yeah. Once he told me that he wanted to wear a lungi, kick his legs up, drink some beer, and watch cricket the full day. And I'll give him company for that.
He will play with his dogs.
He would like to coach an IPL team of Kochi, basically, because he comes from that area of the country.
I think he's going to learn fishing, and there's no better person to teach him that than me.
I would say he's spent a lot of time away from home, and this is the time now to be with his lovely wife, Lakshmi, and stop being an NRI husband.
Post-retirement, he will go to Lakshmi and will declare in a very big way that he's going to chill out, he will go to Bali, he's going to sit under a coconut tree. He will say all these things, but 15 minutes later, he will go to the office.
I hope he gets good sleep.
What he ought to do, I can say, join boards of directors and make life hell for the CEOs because you know exactly what to do and where they are trying to pull your leg.
I would really tell a lot of people, both NGOs and civil society, here's a man who's going to have a little bit more time than he's had before. Grab him because there's great wisdom and there's great conviction out there.
As a friend, he's the kind of person I'd like to grapple to my heart with chains of steel and really keep in touch with him wherever he is, whatever he's doing. I'd always like to be in contact with Prasad Menon.
The kind of things that I've learned from him, probably I wouldn't get a chance to learn from anywhere else.
As I reflect back on those days, I believe that all of us in these two companies have been so fortunate that actually to understand what role model leadership is all about, we didn't have to read about it in books. We had Mr. Menon with us.
He's done such an outstanding job that we're all very grateful that Tatas have been rewarded by his presence in the group. And I would say he feels personally rewarded by what Tatas have done to him. And that's the definition of a good career. Both feel rewarded. God bless him. Good luck, Prasad.